Hello friends, thank you for joining me here today. My presentation is about the Ampersand Chowchilla biomass plant. I hope it will be effective and you enjoy from my presentation. And table of content, we have different sections. First, we have introductions. We introduce myself and I uh, describe the purpose of my audit and the facility descriptions, compliance story, audit scope, audit objective, regulation and law. But in here, that's uh, this facility, as we talked, uh, we only have violations in two rules or law. One is Clean Air Act and another is Clean Water Act, and we describe each one. And another is audit summary and prevention, maintenance and operation plan. This is a very essential part because we have a violations for the Clean Air Act, so we provided information about how can we prevent and how can we operate the system to reduce the gas emissions. And finally, we have conclusion, recommendations, and question and answer parts. And at the end, we have a reference. One is the reference parts of the image, and another is the reference of the subject which we provided. Thank you for being with me. I would take a moment to introduce myself. This is SAFIULLAH STANIKZAI. I'm an environmental auditor. The purpose of my audit to assess the Ampersand Chowchilla biomass plant, all aspects according to the Environmental Protective Agency and regulations. And in this audit report or presentations, we talk about environmental law, audit summary, and also the violations, and we provided a preventive maintenance and operation plan, conclusion, recommendations. That's how can we compliance the facility according to the regulations and requirement. The facility descriptions. The Ampersand Chowchilla biomass is located in California. The two facility in California is one is Ampersand Chowchilla and Merced Power are two wholly owned subsidiaries that belong to Global Ampersand company, and the Ampersand Chowchilla biomass facility were constructed by California Agriculture Power Corporations and started their operations in late 1980. This organization is primarily operation is in biomass electrical power generations business industry within the electric, gas, and sanitary service sector. There are 33 biomass energy facilities located in 19 counties throughout of California that generating about 650 megawatt of renewable electric power. The facility registry service ID of biomass Chowchilla Ampersand Chowchilla biomass is 110571065590 under the EPA compliance audit. The biomass plant, the facility registry service provide facility data to support EPA emissions of to protecting of human health and environment. Ampersand Chowchilla biomass is estimated to generate about 353,000 US dollars in annual revenues. This map shows that Ampersand Chowchilla biomass plant are located in a little before from residential area, and it shows that residential is located only 5 miles away from this site. And but one big concern that we have the emission of nitrogen oxide and carbon monoxide. It's a big concern for the environmental and human health. So the Ampersand Chowchilla biomass plant need to be installed based filters and facility to reduce the gas emission. Complaints story, we taken this information from the EPA eco reports of Ampersand Chowchilla biomass plant. The EPA has audited this plant on 2010. The EPA compliance reported including of compression monitoring and laboratory reports, checking, recording, sampling, analyzing the data. The summary of these regulations show that there is only two violations. One is the Clean Air Act, another is the Clean Water Act. On the other section, like a safe drinking water, air emission, inventory, greenhouse gas, there is no violations recorded. And the EPA imposed fine to the Ampersand Chowchilla biomass plant about 328,000 USD dollars for violation of air emissions and permits, including of excess emissions, air pollutants such as nitrogen oxide and fine particulates. Audit scope. The audit will be assessed the Ampersand Chowchilla biomass plant all aspects, including of environmental infrastructure monitoring and regulations that are including of Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, SDWA, RCRA, greenhouse gas emissions, and TRI. Audit has provided comments and monitorings and identify the problems and make recommendations for more impactful environmental compliance. The audit objective. Ampersand Chowchilla biomass has following the objectives of the audits according to the EPA requirements that are including of the to access with EPA compliance review and undertake the site assessment, provide the best management plan including of monitoring and maintenance plan. The owner operator unit must verify all comments and follow all recommendations and ensure that the unit not violates any applicable requirements and develop under EPA requirement. Regulation law. In this audit, we will focus it only for two regulations that are listed as a non-compliance in Ampersand Chowchilla biomass plan. First, the Clean Air Act. As we mentioned it before, the gas emissions, including of nitrogen oxide and carbon monoxide, which was released in the airs, and the plant should be enforced to reduce gas emission as quickly as possible. And second is the Clean Water Act. The waste disposal impacted the water supply systems and it should be resolved for best environmental and human health. Okay, the audit reports. I would like to brief information about these audit reports. According to the Environmental Protective Agency (EPA), the audit reports the Ampersand Chowchilla Biomass as only violations on Clean Air Act and Clean Water Act. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency ordered Ampersand Chowchilla Biomass and Merced Power Plant to pay a combined civil penalties is about 835,000 US dollar to resolve the violations, and according to the local regulations and Federal Clean Air Act, and also the plan need to be emitted they exceed amount of nitrogen oxides, carbon monoxides, and fine particulates. The civil violations penalty contains the federal enforcement permit rules under California State Implementation Plan, California Health and Safety Code permit conditions, and other related operation facility. Okay, now in this page we want to talk about violation summary. We prepare this summary like a chart. This chart have 4 columns, and as we mentioned that the in-person Chowchilla Biomass plant have violations on Clean Air Act and Clean Water Act. First, in this page, I want to talk about the Clean Air Act problems. The first column is condition requirements to measure to prevent the emissions of high-level gas from the site that we found that's non-compliance, and according to our investigations, the fillet installation of the equipment such as bin and filters and track tapers, the emission is increased in the site, and these emission gases including of carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxide, carbon monoxide, and fine particulates, and we need to be regulate, and we should be enforced to this plant owner or operations to reduce the gas emissions by EPA 40 CFR part of 98 greenhouse gas, and another is the Clean Air Act of 42 UCS according to the California State Implementation Plan. Okay, in this section, as we mentioned, the second is the Water Clean Act, that the water supply is contaminated, and we describe this section like a tables. This table have a 4 column. The first column is the condition requirements of the water supply system, and we found that it's non-compliance according to the test, and the existing local water supply system is contaminated by waste disposal, which was generated from the Ampersand Chowchilla Biomass plant, but it need to be regulated according to the regulation of 40 CFR section 136 guidelines, and this one is including of establishing testing procedures for analysis of the pollutant. Okay, as we mentioned that the Clean Air Act is a big concern, and that's impacted for human health, but we need to be prepare prevention and maintenance and operation plan for that. The EPA review and approved the Ampersand Chowchilla Biomass operation and maintenance plan that was provided within 90 days. The facility of this plan as follows. The preventations maintenance operation plant will be compliance with defendant approach for good air pollutant control to minimize the nitrogen oxide, carbon oxide, nitrate, sulfur dioxide, and other particulate emissions from the facility. The PMOP will have a boiler operations equipment for air pollution control, startup and shutdown procedures, and emergency plan. The preventations maintenance operation plan minimum including of identification, facility for personnel, equipment inspection, quality assurance systems, operation and maintenance system, housekeeping and record keeping, reporting system, and communication system. The PMOP is responsible for compliance with the Clean Air Act, such as other law and regulation. Okay, at the end we have conclusions. The conclusion, the APA compliance audit, the Ampersand Chowchilla Biomass plants, they found that only violence on Clean Air Act and Clean Water Act, so the owner operations unit must revise all comments and follow our recommendations and ensure that the unit is not violates any applicable requirements development under APA requirements. The APA requested from the owner operation unit to no later than 90 days the following restart of the facility, monitor the emission rate from the facility through the use of the flue monitor and additional to any other equipment and utilize requirement by permit law. And another is no later than 30 days the following restart the facility, apply to modify the applicable permit conditions to specify that the request requires ammonia injection system used to facilities selective non catalytic reduction systems to control the nitrogen oxide emissions must be automatic system. The plan is generated disposal waste and it causes to contaminated the local water supply system. It needs to be cleaned. In this slide we have some recommendation. We requested some recommendations to Ampersand Chowchilla Biomass plant for waste management plan. The plant is required to enhance and improve monitoring and reporting of pollutant control system for nitrogen oxide, carbon monoxide emissions. The Ampersand Chowchilla plant needs to be installed in the facility to reduce the emission of nitrogen oxides up to 180 tons per year and carbon monoxide up to 360 tons per year. As we know, the coils and biomass boilers are a major source of hazardous, so the biomass plant need to be installed base filters as scrubbers for the better emission control. The waste disposal, as we mentioned, that the waste disposal is contaminated the wastewater, the local water supply system. It needs to be clean and it needs to be a management for the routine disposal cleanup. Thank you again for being with me, and thanks for your time to review my presentation of to end. If you have any questions and feedback, you should post it in discussions. I'm looking for. Thank you.